Hey everyone, this is Jamie Leha with Misc Paper, and today I am starting a series of videos all about how I keep track of my scrapbook data. So I am a data nerd. I love keeping track of things. I love logging things. I love adding things in spreadsheets. I have both a business degree and a graphic design degree, so maybe that will explain to you why I love this. But yeah, it's just me talking through a series of spreadsheets that I've put together to keep track of the products that I purchase, my spending, and also the projects that I complete throughout the year. So stay tuned for that, and thank you so much for watching. Hey y'all, Jamie here, and I wanted to share a spreadsheet of data that I keep around my scrapbooking. So I am a data geek. Like, this is fun for me. I have fun keeping track of things. I like seeing progress. I like adding numbers together, that whole thing. A friend of mine was asking about a tab specifically on how I track the products that I have and the stories I want to tell. So I thought that I would just share the whole spreadsheet with you guys and talk through the different ways that I keep track of my scrapbooking. Again, this is something that I find fun. Like, I know that may sound weird to some of you, but I don't know. I just love having the data. So this isn't me advocating that everyone should like jump on this bandwagon and start keeping spreadsheets. That you may have no interest in that whatsoever, and that's totally fine. Like, to each their own, right? But like I said, I find this fun. Like, I like when I finish a page that I can like log it. Logging, oh, I love it. I have no idea why I'm this big of a nerd, but I do. So I have this spreadsheet where I keep track of all of the projects that I've created throughout the year. I keep track of the formats that I'm scrapbooking in. I keep track of the number of pages that I've made in progress toward completing an album. I keep track of the money that I spend and like the products that I purchase. I also keep track of the stories I want to tell in a few different ways. And I do all of that here in a Google Sheet. I've been doing this for a few years of like keeping, like for actually several years of keeping track of the projects that I create, but it's only been in the last few years that I've kind of amped it up and have been adding various data points to this specific spreadsheet. And I'll talk through that as I get to each of the tabs. Again, this is fun for me. Like, I know that there's some people who are like, why would you spend your time doing this when you could be sitting at your desk scrapbooking? I don't know. But this is fun for me in a different way. Like, maybe I don't really have a lot of energy to go and sit at my desk, but like I can play around in this spreadsheet. And for me, it's like still it's still like hitting my endorphins, or I don't know, whatever, like it's still releasing endorphins for me. And it's still fun and part of the process for me to like play in this spreadsheet. So on the very first tab that I have in here, I'm keeping track of all of the projects that I have completed throughout the year. So this is what that looks like. I keep track of the month that I created the project in. I keep track of the date that I made the page or the mini book or the notebook page, whatever, as best I can. I'm not always great at kind of recording these on the day. I sometimes just go back and have to remember sometimes, or if I don't remember, I just leave it blank. I keep track of the format that I scrapbook in. I keep track of like the specific project and the size it was created in, the album that it's intended for, and then also like the quantity, like if there's several pages that I did at one time. There's also this note section that pretty much shows if I've used something very specific. It's just a miscellaneous notes section for me. I don't know why I have that there, but it's something legacy that I've done for a number of years, so I keep up with it. I keep track of if I've photographed the project and if I've shared the project, and the orange boxes show that I have not photographed it yet. So those are kind of like, hey, pay attention. These are the ones that you need to go and take photos of. So I have the quantity of pages that I've completed in column G, and all of that adds up into this yellow box at the top of the screen that has the total number of projects that I have completed so far this year. So as of January 1st, I have 168 projects done, or pages, I guess you can call them as well. I use the two interchangeably, and that is where I am at so far. I have this data in a slightly different way on the next tab, and basically this is how I'm keeping track of the formats that I'm using and the sizes that I'm using. The end total, why is the end total not updated to 168? It was before. I don't know why that number is not adding up correctly. I will figure that out. I know why. It's because for whatever reason, I just added these 6 3x8s and it's not totaling. So I'm not sure why that is. I'll have to look into it. But if you add 162 and 6, that equals 168. I don't know why it's not doing what it's meant to. I mean, clearly the sum down there. Anyway, this is not supposed to be about math. Sorry, I don't know. I just noticed that. But as you can see here, that this is a layout section, and these are the number, these are the sizes of pages that I have made in the past. And so I'm just kind of keeping track of how many pages I have made in these sizes. So this year I have made the most in a 6x8 size. So I have 45 of those. I've made several in 4x8 size and just a couple of 12x12 layouts. And that's pretty consistent for me, like kind of switching into the smaller format versus the larger format. Still do the 12x12, obviously, but just not as often. And then I have this section here for pockets that shows that, again, I've done a lot of the smaller sizes, so a lot of 3x8 and several of 6x8 in pocket size, or in pocket pages specifically there. And then also notebooks. So these are like the traveler's notebooks and the different size traveler's notebooks that I have. So I've done a bit more than I had last year, and several 6x8 because I am doing my One Little Word project in the One Little Word journal, which is roughly 6x8. It's probably not exactly that. But so that's why I have a few in the 6x8 category this year. And so this is meant to total, again, 168. I don't know why this one number isn't coming up like it should. I will figure that out offline. But it's the same data that is in this first spreadsheet, just in a slightly different way. And this just helps me to kind of know what it is, which sizes and formats I'm doing the most. And so that as I'm making decisions about albums and new projects that I take on, that I'm taking into account like what I have actually done. And I'm not just kind of willy-nilly thinking like, oh yes, I'm going to scrap 9x12 for the rest of my life. Well, that's probably not going to happen because I haven't really done that naturally this entire year. So that's just one of the reasons why I keep track of things. So on this tab, I'm tracking the same information, but again, in a slightly different way. And something's going on with this one as well. So you see how this is blank on this spreadsheet, but there's a formula down here. I'm not really sure what's going on with my Google Sheets, but at least you're kind of seeing how I keep track of things, even though it's acting up for whatever reason right now as I'm filming or recording rather. So I keep track of the various projects that I had said at the beginning of the year that I was going to be working on. I actually have a post about this on my blog at miscpaper.co, MISC paper.co. And I had several different categories of projects that I was going to be working on. I have projects that are ongoing. Those are just the everyday projects that I work on as the year goes on. Like we go to an event and maybe I make a page about it, or I decide that I want to tell a story about how I eat enchiladas, like just those kind of random stories that come up throughout the year. And those are just ongoing. I will always do those. And then I had a category of projects where I am doing a repeat of something that I did last year. So last year I did One Little Word, I did the Pieces of Me project, Week in the Life, and December Documented, which is my version of December Daily. And I'm planning to do all of those again this year. Then there was a few projects that I needed to finish and a few that I needed to catch up on. And obviously, as there always is, several that I wanted to start. And so I had laid all of that out, and I just wanted to keep track of what my progress is with each of those. So I color coded them slightly just so I could quickly see where I think I'm good, and more importantly, to see where I think I need to catch up on. So anything that is highlighted in orange is something that I feel like I should have completed more of the pages in that particular project, or I need to catch up because I've fallen behind, as is the case with the One Little Word notebook. And then the red ones obviously are some of the projects that I want to start, but I have something physical. I have some products associated with them, and I just haven't sat down to make those yet. So those are highlighted in red. And then there's a few projects that are just going to be holding until the specific time that I think that I'm going to want to start working on them. Because obviously, I don't want to force myself to do December stuff in the middle of the summer. Well, actually, that's my plan. That was a bad example. But maybe I don't want to force myself to work on a Halloween project in June, when really around October time is when I actually want to be scrapbooking about Halloween, because all the fun products are out and it's that time of year. So this is why I've kind of added some notes in here to show myself that I'm planning on, the reason they haven't been started is because I'm waiting for a specific time or event to work on those. So again, this is the same information that is contained in the Papercraft tab and the Tally tab, just slightly in a slightly different format.